everyone. Virtual tastings are back and I'm so excited. I know we're out of the virtual tasting era that we were in a couple weeks ago, but they are back. We are able to connect again because y'all have asked for it. And so welcome back. My name is Kelsey Kramer. If we haven't met before, I am an employee with William Chris Wine Company. I am privileged to be a part of their team for the last 3 years, and I'm the Director of Education with the William Chris Wine School, which is a more recent initiative where we get to provide education for the state of Texas and beyond. Our first mission is to educate our team and make sure that they can give the best experience in the state of Texas about Texas wines, but making sure that we give you guys the love and that all of our guests and fans are able to speak really intelligently about Texas wine as well. I see y'all joining on now. So please get in the comments and let me know where you are watching from, whether you are drinking the 2016 Merlot from Granite Hill Vineyard like I am. And then also, let me know if you're going to the fall concert on October 14th with me. It is going to be a ton of fun. We didn't do the fall concert last year, and I was super, super, super sad because it's my favorite event of the year. So if you are going, let me know so I can watch out for you while I'm there. And if you're not going, there are tickets still available. Go on williamchriswines.com, go to the events page, and you'll see all of our events there, including the fall concert. It's $65 for a ticket, and crazily enough, that includes a plate of Cajun food and a free glass of wine, complimentary glass of wine. And then it includes rock and roll music. There's going to be an artist there who I've never heard play before, but his style is rock and roll. So I'm super, super stoked for that. And then there are some VIP tables available if you want to bring a whole party over. If you're not doing anything in a couple of weeks, that's where I will be, and that's where y'all should be. Marcia and Tabitha, not drinking, still at work. Oh, I will drink extra wine for you. Sorry, Tabitha. It's really good to see you again, though. Marcia, you're in Austin, so am I. Usually I'm doing these from San Antonio, but this time I'm in Austin. I've moved recently, so I'm getting used to the Texas wine scene in Austin. All right, I'm going to start opening my wine. 2014 Granite Hills Cab. Marcia is drinking something that's older than what I'm drinking, but still in the same great family. Oh my gosh, you know what I did? I didn't even get a wine key. Y'all are going to have to pardon me for a second while I go get a wine key. My gosh, I can't believe I did that. There has to be one around here somewhere. All right, stay here. I will be right back. I have these lying all over my house, but for whatever reason, didn't make it with me today. So I'm opening up wine, and people are still joining. Hi, Alan. Nice to see y'all. Y'all got the pack, I'm guessing? Alan, are y'all going to the fall concert as well? Oh, it smells amazing. I'm so excited. So I'm going to start today with a tip of the day, and that is just something I'm going to share every week as we go through these. Because I want y'all to be getting the most out of the wine. And how we used to start these virtual tastings is we would start by assessing the wine together, which is not something we're going to do this time because I trust y'all to assess your own wines now that we've been through a couple of those together. But I still want to make sure I'm giving y'all practical application for wine, just to make sure that every single time you open a bottle, you're looking for the same things that I'm looking for, that I've learned from my mentors and teachers, will help me level up my wine game. So my tip for y'all today is season your wine glasses. One of the worst things that I think I can do is be drinking from a glass that hasn't had wine in it yet, because it smells like the cabinet that I pulled it from, or it smells just like a clean glass. But when I season my wine glass before I drink the wine, I just pour like half an ounce or an ounce in the glass, and then I swish it around and I get the wine glass used to the wine that I'm going to pour into. Then I dump that wine out and then I pour. And this is the same for decanters. This also applies for when you're going to put a new type of wine in a glass that you've been drinking a different wine out of. So, for instance, if I was going to drink a wine after I drink this wine, which I probably will, what I'm going to do first, even if I'm just casually enjoying the wine, is I'm going to open that new wine. I'm going to pour half an ounce in the glass, just rinse it, and then dump it out. So that way the wine glass is seasoned with the newest wine that I'm going to drink. And this helps prime the glass so that you're not getting any clean glass smell or soapy smell or cupboard smell, which is the worst thing. So I have a wine glass here that's ready for me to drink my Merlot. But I have a decanter here that I'm also going to play around with. It's my one glass decanter. If y'all remember from previous virtual tastings, I always have this one glass decanter, and I slowly decant my wine as I'm drinking it instead of decanting the entire bottle at once. I like to really have control over every ounce of wine that I drink. But before I do anything with this, I'm going to pour a couple ounces in. Ignore me spilling the wine everywhere. It's the end of a long day, guys. So I'm just going to season the glass with it, pour it out, and then I'm going to pour in the amount that I'd like. And don't shame me for wasting wine or whatever. I'm making sure that the wine that I do drink is going to be tasting exactly the way that it should, and that nothing that was in this glass before is going to interfere with my wine. So that is my tip of the day. Seasoned glass all the time. Season your glassware. And this is after you've already smelled the glass to make sure that it's not smelling like a dirty rag or anything. That is also something you should always do. All right, guys, make sure you're getting in the comments, saying hi to me, telling me where you're calling from, and telling me what you're drinking. And in the comments is also where you can post any questions that you have during this. The benefit of us being able to do this virtually is that we can still talk to each other from the comfort of our own home. It's less educational if it's just me talking the entire time. I really want to know what y'all have as far as questions and what y'all are thinking about wine and what's come up this year that you need an answer to, but no one has maybe been able to answer for you before. I love talking to y'all. And today, what we're going to be tackling, and if you have any questions related to this theme, today is the day. We are going to be tackling the topic, what is it about Texas wine? Because this is Texas Wine Month. So we are celebrating Texas by educating about it. And to me, education is less me just talking to you guys and celebrating Texas wine for 45 minutes to an hour. It's more preparing y'all with information that you can then pass on to somebody else. And when I first got into the Texas wine industry a couple of years ago, my first questions were, and they remain my questions today, even after all the research I've done, what is it about Texas wine? At first, when I got into the wine industry, I couldn't understand what it was. There was something in the taste that I couldn't put my finger on. There was an excitement around Texas wine that I couldn't quite understand. What is it with the, early harvests that we do and the grape varieties that we're growing and the soil types that they're growing in? What is it that's creating such lively, exciting wines, and what's spurring such a moment about Texas wine? And that is what we're going to talk about today. But I want to let y'all know what we're going to be doing through the entire month, just so you can prepare yourselves. If you've picked up the 6-pack of wine that's on our shop page still, and you still can pick this up if you'd like to, we are going to be drinking those 6 wines during this month. And they are 6 of my favorite wines that I've made sure we pull specially out for you guys. Some of them we no longer have available, like this Merlot from Granite Hill Vineyard 2016. This is going to be gone very soon, and we pulled out just enough for you guys. And there are some wines that we haven't released yet. Next week, we're going to be drinking a wine that we haven't released yet. It's the Annie's Block Mervet from High Estate, the newest vintage. And then a couple of other of my favorite wines that, one of them we haven't ever released, that Tanat that we're going to drink in the last week. We've never released that wine, but I continuously use it for my educational sessions because it's really exciting to me. So all of these wines I pulled specially for y'all so we can drink throughout this month. We are going to meet 4 times, and this is the first time. This week, we're going to drink 1 wine. Next week, we're going to drink 1 wine with Chris and Catherine. And then the week after that, we're going to open 2 wines and do a comparative tasting of same grapes, same vineyard from 2 different years. And then the last week of the month, we're going to round it out by drinking 2 wines from the Texas Hill Country, and we'll do a comparative tasting there. Y'all should have gotten a little menu in your virtual tasting pack that gives you the list of the wines that we're going to drink and when. It also has some food pairing suggestions. If you have duck and Asiago cheese in front of you right now with this Merlot, please let me know. I want to know who took my suggestions and did that, because we will talk about that food pairing today. But if you'd like to join us with food pairings and wines for the following weeks, please do. And then y'all should know that these are going to stay recorded so that you can watch back, or if you can't join any of these live, you can still get that wine. You can still open it at your own time. Just go to the Facebook and YouTube pages where we're watching this now. All right, I'm going to hop in the comments and say hi to everyone. Hi, Kirsten. Good to see you again. Marcia, y'all are coming out for the Vineyard Table experience. That's awesome. It's just changing over to a fall time menu. I'm really, really excited for y'all to try it. Oh, Steve, it's so nice to see y'all. I'm glad y'all are going to the Alamo dinner tomorrow. Tickets are sold out on that. I'm sorry, guys, but the fall concert is still open for y'all to take advantage of. And hopefully we'll be doing Alamo dinners again and again in the future. DW. Dina, hi. Hi, Dina. Dina's part of our team. You may have had a tasting with her before. Dina, you've never heard me tell you to season your glass. I'm so glad you're here. Hi, Ray and Michelle. It's so good to see y'all. Awesome. So let's toast to Texas wine. I do not care what you have in your glass. I don't care if you're not drinking a Texas wine. Oh, I hate to say that, but if you're drinking tequila, I don't care. Let's toast to the fact that we're going to talk about Texas wine for the next 40 minutes or so. Cheers to y'all for being here. I have missed being on these virtual tastings with you guys and being able to connect from across Texas and beyond. Oh my gosh, I just love this wine. I'm going to tell y'all what I'm smelling because I don't think all of y'all are drinking the same wine as me. So this is a wine from 2016, and the 2016 wines are drinking so incredible right now. And the reason I pulled this wine out to put in this pack is because I want to make a point that it's time to be drinking your wines from 2016. This is not known as an incredible year for Texas at all. It was very wet. There was a lot of just like monsoon season, there was a lot of humidity in the air. There was rain at the wrong times. The grapes really love warm, dry weather and nutrient poor soil. And when there's a lot of rain, you get more nutrients, you get more dilution of aromas. But this is the wine. The 2016 wines are the ones that get me thinking when we say it's not a great year, but I put my nose in a glass of 2016 wine from Texas. It's still incredible. Like, what is it about Texas that's able to produce such lively wines in the toughest of years? And that's what we're going to aim at answering today. Although I don't think there's a way to quite capture that. Hi, Christy. Good to see y'all. So what I'm smelling in this wine, gosh, it's just so rich. What I'm smelling in this wine is lovely fruit. This wine has aged for an amount of time that would make me think that it would start to lose its fruitiness a little bit, but it hasn't. It's held on to that fruitiness for a really long time. And it's just so full and rich. It's one of those wines that's thick in perfume, almost like, you know how potpourri, when you have it in a room, it just kind of like fills that whole room. It's just such a rich aroma that it fills, and it's very thick. It's almost like a fog of perfume. And even though this isn't potpourri smell, it's a wine that just kind of fills the entire glass. And I think part of that is because I seasoned my glass, and so the aroma is more coating the sides of the glass. But there's such a complexity and there's such a specific like wild berry aroma here. It's almost like those wild berry Pop Tarts. That's how much the fruit notes are popping still. There's nothing muted or dull about this wine. There's nothing that's falling off. It is like at its peak. And the 2016 wines in your collection, it's time to drink them because they are riding that high right now. In the next couple of years, they'll still be delicious, but they won't ever be as good as they are right now. So make sure you're getting into your cellar and pulling out your 2016 wines. 2015 and 2014, they're drinking well right now, but you can still hold some of those. And so 2016 is the one to pull out and start getting excited about. And then when I taste this wine, it fills my mouth in the same way that the aromas fill the glass. It's just kind of mouth coating. And that's why it's another reason I pulled this wine, is because that's just something that Merlot does. Merlot tends to get thicker and richer with age. It doesn't get thinner. It doesn't get more silky over time. It gets more velvety and coating. And so this is part of the excitement around Texas. This is part of the reason why Texas wines are so incredible and unique, is because the grape varieties that we're using are ones that, of course, work well with the conditions that we're growing in, but also they age over time in a way that's really, really exciting. And Merlot is one of those grape varieties that's succeeding really well in Texas, but it's not making your one-note Merlots that are just sweet and nothing else. These Merlots are really serious Merlots. You can tell that there's something in the soil. And that's the first part of what we're going to talk about today. There's clearly something in the soil that's making this Merlot a serious Merlot that has complexity and intention and a serious character about it, that's dry and fruity at the same time and rich in texture, while also gaining those incredible tertiary characters that happen with bottle age. When you can age a Merlot, which you can only age the really fine Merlots that are complex, they increase in texture and they gain these aromas of like tobacco. And that is such a lovely Merlot thing because it goes so well with that coating aroma and coating mouthfeel. And so that's what I'm getting to taste right now. I hope y'all will pick up that pack if you didn't get it, just to take advantage of this wine that I'm so excited about. Oh, gosh, I just love it. And I would hate to drink this any later. All right, I'm going to hop in the comments to see if anyone has a question yet. I see that the last couple of people I expected to join will be coming on. Join, open a bottle of wine. Marcia, it was so good to see you. Alan, that's a good question. Alan asked if the 2017 Granite Hill Merlot is for sale. I don't know, but I can get that answer for you. It's likely not on our website, but you may try. We released some 2017 wines on the website recently so that everyone could take advantage of them. The 2017 wines are also drinking really, really well right now, and it would taste totally different than this 2016. I think this 2016 Merlot has a little bit more restraint to it. It's a little bit quieter and like subtle and mysterious, and it kind of opens up over time. 2017 wines, they just gave you everything that they were right up front, which is why they were so exciting. It was like you smelled it and you were like, yes, I love that wine. And 2016 wines from Texas, they were like, ooh, what's happening? And it's just a total different visceral reaction. Hi, Catherine. Good to see y'all. So Catherine is eating some Asiago cheese, but no duck breast. Yeah, it's hard to find duck breast, but if you're in Austin or elsewhere, Central Market is a good place for it. So I recommended two food pairings for today, and I'd love to hear if anyone's joining in with these. I recommended some smoked duck breast and Asiago cheese. The reason I recommended both of these is because we are drinking what I call a food friendly wine right now. And most of Texas wines, I think, are food friendly. And food friendly doesn't just mean it will go with a certain type of food. Like you can have a Cabernet Sauvignon that goes really well with steak. That doesn't mean that the Cabernet Sauvignon that you're drinking is a food friendly wine. It may be friendly with some foods, but what a food friendly wine really is a wine that will pair with a lot of different types of food, and it will change in a positive way, no matter what type of food that you're eating. So something that duck breast and Asiago have in common is they're both really full of umami. And umami is a savory character that you find in aged cheeses, that you find in some stronger cheeses, especially from like Italy or France, blue cheeses, especially. And then umami is also found in meat, especially when it is smoked or grilled or dried and it's really condensed. That savory character is something that can make a lot of dry wines taste bitter and unpleasant. But with smoked duck breast, usually what you're getting is a little bit of saltiness as well. So with this dry wine, there's such a richness to it and there's such a mouth coating effect. It's not sweetness, but it is a thick headiness that will prevent the wine from being made bitter or unpleasant with the umami component in food. With the umami component, what will happen is this wine will become a little bit less fruity and it'll taste a little bit less dry. But because this is a mouth coating thick wine and because it's so fruity to start off, that's not actually a bad thing. You're going to end up with a wine that's pleasantly dry, like bone dry, and then has a tobacco note to it that'll pair really, really well with something like duck breast. And then the Asiago cheese has a lot of acidity to it. And acidity is something that softens your wine. So even though there is an umami component in the Asiago cheese that's going to taste really well with this super fruity Merlot, what's going to happen is the acidity in the cheese and the fat in the cheese is going to make the acidity in this wine seem a little bit lower. And that is going to be incredibly rewarding because there is a tart note to this wine. When I taste a tart note in wine, I automatically know this is going to be food friendly. It's going to pair well with something that has an acidity or a fat component to it. Anything with milk, cream, Alfredo, things like that are going to be delicious. Even a little squeeze of lemon over your dish is going to make this wine taste really, really good. So you have a super food friendly wine here. And that is one thing that really nice Merlot is known for. Ooh, Dina's pairing with truffle, goat cheese, and Asiago. And truffle has a ton of umami. So you are like thinking alongside me really, really well. Awesome. Okay. I have a note page here because when I get off topic, I will be off topic. And so let me make sure that I'm telling y'all all the things that I meant to tell y'all. All right. I did. Okay, so let's tackle point number one to tell us what it is about Texas wine. So, Texas wine has had a lot of excitement around it, and we're going to talk about a couple reasons why there is excitement, starting with just the pure flavor of it. One reason that there is a moment happening about Texas wine is purely around the taste of Texas wine. There's an expectation, I think, a lot of the time that Texas wines are going to be very jammy and fruit forward and be very New World in style, which means they're high in alcohol, they're really jammy, and they're very full bodied, which is a delicious thing. But clearly, there's something in the soil that's creating a different style of wine than that. The wines that I have in this pack that y'all are drinking from your collection from Texas, they have an element of of restraint to them. This Merlot is not a big, bold, jammy Merlot that's a heavy hitter. I'm not going to get wasted off of one glass of this. I'm going to be able to sip on this and enjoy it with food and enjoy the notes that it has to give me over time. That's something that's really unexpected, and it's taking people by surprise. The thing that I noticed when I was in the tasting room at William Chris, and Dina, tell me if this is true for you as well. When people taste Texas wines and they haven't before, I think they're expecting one thing. They're expecting a certain type of taste. And many, many times I'm pouring Texas wine and there's this moment of, oh, that is different. That is not what I expected. And the character of Texas wine, as I've tasted so many of them, because I taste all of the wines that we end up producing at William Chris and Lost Straw and Uplift, I notice a liveliness. I don't know another way to say that, but there is a character of the wine being alive that I attribute to really only a couple of wine regions in the world. There's an ageability to the wines that is there because the wines have character to them. So what I mean by liveliness is that I'm having that visceral reaction to the wine. And that's something I notice when I share Texas wine with other people and I'm in a community and I'm pouring a bottle of Texas wine for people at the table. There's this need to talk about the wine for longer than is the norm for tasting with other people. There's a journey that the wine takes you on. And it's almost like you're holding the wine's hand and it's kind of pulling you along on this journey, whether you want to go on it or not, it's taking you there. And that's something that I've had people notice, sommeliers who come into the tasting room and want to talk about Texas wine, people who are new to wine and are trying to figure it out. These wines are not just wines that help them figure out wine, but they are enlightening wines. And there's a soulfulness to them that is capturing people really quickly. That's part of the excitement about Texas wine. And it's something that I hope you'll find as we taste through these wines during Texas Wine Month. The liveliness that is there is something that deserves to be recognized and called out. And the only thing that I can attribute that liveliness to is something in the soil in Texas. So Texas has an incredible number of soil types in it. There are, first of all, Texas is such a big state and it's been affected by so many things. Volcanoes, it's been affected by being underwater for a long period of time. Over 200 million years ago, Texas was underwater and created layers of sedimentary rock when mineral precipitates in the water were condensed and under pressure. They created layers of limestone, sandstone across the state. And then rivers across Texas have shifted soils, starting over in the Texas high plains where there's runoff from the Rocky Mountains. And it's the river basins have pulled those soil types across Texas and outlet into the Gulf Coast. I want to show y'all a map just so y'all can get an idea of what I'm looking at. I figured out some tricks that will allow me to share more with y'all. So this is what we're looking at. Where can I go? So in Texas, there are many regions that we're growing wine, and the areas that y'all see here, the AVAs are outlined with black. You can see the Texas High Plains up here, and then Texoma AVA is up here. Texas Hill Country, y'all know where that is. That's where we're all sitting right now. And then you'll see that outside of these AVAs, we're growing wine as well. And I never, ever want to make it seem like we're only growing grapes inside the AVAs of Texas, because Texas is a massive state. There is so much going on in this state outside of the AVAs that we're working within. AVAs are just the areas that have been legally defined. So there's much more action, like along the Gulf Coast here. Gulf Coast here. There's a lot of grapes growing here where it's really humid and moist. There are certain grapes that grow really well Out here, where it's not humid and moist, where we're in the middle of the Chihuahua Desert, Del Valley Vineyards is over there, and we have a wonderful collection from Del Valley Vineyard. And then across the rest of the state, there are grapes growing as well. This wine that we're having today happens to grow within an AVA called Bell Mountain. It's in the center of the Texas Hill Country. But I want to make it clear that there is a range of soil types across the state that we're doing experiments with right now. And the experimentation is making wine from more places. So William Chris will source from the entire state in order to get an idea of what the different soil types of Texas have to offer. There's a liveliness in all of them. And I think that liveliness must be attributed to the kind of old world soil types that we have. There's ancient granite that's 1.4 billion years old that this wine grew on top of. There's layers of limestone that were stacked on top of each other with sandstone, dolomites, and really mineral rich soils that spread across the state, but especially in the Texas Hill Country. And then there's alluvial deposits from these rivers that run through Texas, and these dried up rivers that were once water, but now have left behind highly organic mineral soil. Like over here, I'm trying to figure out where I am. Over here, this area is an ancient coral reef that's dried up. It's in the middle of the desert, so there's not a lot of water there now. But what's left over from that concentration of water is an organic coral reef that's been fossilized and preserved in the soils. It's what I would consider old world soil types, because this is what we talk about being present in northern France, in Bordeaux. It's what we talk about being present in Tuscany and Chianti in Italy. And so the similarities of those wines that grow on those ancient dried up coral reefs and these layers of limestone that breaks up into the soil in different ways, depending on how deep the water was at the time that the state was underwater. All of this plays into how lively the wines are and how similar they are to some old world wines that we can make comparisons to. So when we talk about Texas wine, I think that answer to what is it about Texas wine, one answer is that it's not always like New World wines that are big and bold and jammy. There is an intricacy and an element of restraint in the wines that has to be from the soil. And the experimentation with all of these different soil types across the state is now. And it's why you'll see so many wines in the William Chris collection coming from so many different vineyards. It's why we have 12 single vineyard Mervedes. That's the experimentation. Every Merved that we have grown that's part of that collection, we've harvested from a different vineyard site that has a variation in soil. This is our experimentation with finding out what each soil type of Texas has to offer. They're all lively, they're all intriguing, they're all playing with an element of restraint and elegance rather than that big, bold, knock your face off style of wine. And it's unprecedented and unexpected and incredibly exciting. I'm going to hop in the comments to see if y'all had any questions as I rambled through that. Oh, Catherine, you got prosciutto really high in umami. I'm very happy with that choice. Well done. How is the prosciutto and the Asiago with the Merlot? Tell me how the wine is changing with it. Jennifer, I agree. This wine is opening up really nicely. Not that I've tasted it recently, but now it's got this edgy spice and clove thing that it's putting out, which is a really cool thing about Merlot. And Catherine, you say you're not usually a Merlot fan, and I'm going to have a little story for y'all on that. That's part of our education for today is figuring out why Merlot is not just Merlot when it's from Texas. Steve, yes, I'm meteorologist Kelsey today. Mark And Mary, are y'all in the library room right now? That's so awesome. That's exciting. And Christy, yes, I'm glad you liked the map. Christy says, love the visual with the map. It's something that I figured out how to do recently. We're getting more technically savvy here as Texas takes off. Kelsey's going to take off with her technical wine education and figuring out how to do better virtual tastings all the time and use her computer in better ways. Hi, Eric. Nice to see you. Is Asha there with you? All right. Let me know. I'm going to tell you a little story about Merlot. Merlot, poor Merlot. Merlot has had a hard time of it. Grapes are often ancient things. They are born sometimes hundreds, thousands of years before we, get to taste them now. Sorry, I'm going to try my decanted version of this wine as I tell this. Merlot is a grape that's been worked with for hundreds of years, of course, mostly in France. And there is a ton of excitement around this grape, or at least there was, because Merlot is absolutely delicious. That really unctuous nose, that ability to gain tobacco notes with age, that mouth coating effect, all of that was super, super exciting as French Merlot took off. And unfortunately, with excitement about a certain style of wine or a certain grape variety, it means that there's market viability. And with market viability comes a different level of excitement that says, hey, I can make money off of this. And so Merlot started to be treated unfortunately because everyone wanted to be drinking Merlot. And so that left the opportunity open for people to capitalize on planting more Merlot and putting more Merlot on the market because they knew that it would sell and it would fetch a high price. And so this is in the late 1800s, I believe. Merlot started to be overplanted. It started to be harvested at too high of a yield, too many grapes on the vine to create really concentrated Merlot, but you can make more of it if you have a higher yield. Those wines weren't very concentrated because there was too high of yield. There was too many plantings of it. People were moving too quickly with the grapes to give it the care and attention that it needs to be made into a really serious, complex wine. And so the Merlot was overcropped. What you do in the winemaking process then is you cover up anything undesired by adding a little bit of oak chips to the wine, or adding some flavoring to the wine, or adding some sugar to the wine, or adding some dye to the wine because it didn't come out as tasty as it should have because you didn't give it the care that it needed in the vineyard. And so this means that on the store shelves, what came was one note Merlot. This is overly sweet Merlot that's deep in color and looks like it's going to be delicious, but doesn't taste very good because it's been overproduced. It tastes like oak chips and syrup, and it's totally undesirable and not like this style of Merlot at all. And so with this overcropped, overdone Merlot, Merlot started to get a bad name, and people started to associate Merlot with being one note, kind of just crappy wine that couldn't make good wine. And so Merlot started to fetch lower prices. So those really good Merlots out there that were being treated responsibly, people wouldn't buy those anymore because they were having this other kind of Merlot that wasn't treated responsibly. So the value of Merlot started to go down. And then the movie Sideways came out. There was a remark because I think I'm not sure on this, but I think the script writer had maybe gotten a divorce, and his wife was a fan of Merlot, and so he made this he had one of the actors make a comment about the Merlot grape, that it's Merlot, please don't feed me Merlot. And movies have a surprising influence on the market presence of wine. That movie came out and the sales of Merlot plummeted. And now Merlot is in this really weird place where some people know how special it is and are willing to spend the money to get really fine Merlot. And then a lot of people are not. And a lot of people are still getting that one note Merlot out there that was treated poorly in the vineyard, was overcropped, water was added, sugar was added, dye was added just to be able to put something on the shelves and sell more wine. And unfortunately, there are many great varieties that we love that may go through this in the future as well. So make sure that you are spending the money on the style of wines that you know are good, and stay curious. If you've had one style of wine that you didn't like, give it another try and try something totally different, because likely you're not getting the full story. When you try, let's say, Tempranillo and you don't like it, just give another Tempranillo a try and see if that's your cup of tea. Likely there's a wide range of styles out there that's deserving of your time and attention. It's never the grape variety's fault. It's typically something in the process that's been a hiccup. I'm hopping in the comments. Michelle, you're getting the little bit of tobacco on the nose. That's awesome. I'm starting to get it now too. At first, I only got it on the palate, but now it's all over the nose and it's just peeking through and saying hi. Eric, get Asha some wine stat. Catherine says the wine seems more full bodied with more tannins in the end with the prosciutto. That is very astute. You're totally spot on, because something that salt will do, and prosciutto is very salty, salt will increase the effective body in a wine. And so when we're pairing food and wine together, you have to be really careful with salt. Salt is something that's great with a light bodied or a medium bodied wine like this. This is a medium bodied wine, but with a full bodied wine, if you over salt something, that wine is going to become overly rich and overpowering. So with something like this, and this is why I call Texas wine so food friendly, most of our Texas wines love a little bit of salt because it boosts up the body and it gives us the richness that a lot of us really find pleasing about wine, and that I certainly do. Awesome. Alan, can you let us know which William Chris winery? Would you expand on that question and let me know what you're talking about? I'm sure I said something that's related to that, but I can't remember what it was. So just help me out a little bit. All right. I am drinking this wine a little bit decanted, and I just want to share with y'all what's happened. The tobacco is so present on the nose. What's happened is the fruitiness that I first got with this wine has all but gone away. And now I'm left with everything but fruitiness, which there is a lot of everything but fruitiness here. There's that tobacco that I've been talking about, but there's a green character here too, like a bell pepperiness that is associated with some Merlots and is really exciting to find. It's a little bit minty. And there's an earthiness, and that's what I would expect of a wine that's this old. And it's just a nice, lovely, savory character. It's one of the reasons why aged Merlot commonly is associated with pairing with duck, which is a meat that has a gaminess to it. That gaminess is something that the Merlot grape has as well, especially when it has a bit of age. That gaminess goes with gaminess. Oh, Alan, can you tell us which William Chris wines are mainly Merlot? Yes. Before 2020, the Hunter, which is one of our flagship wines we all know and love, before 2020, the Hunter has been mostly Merlot. And it's a great, great way to get into what a serious Merlot is like. Enchante will have a little bit of Merlot. The most recent vintages of Hunter don't have mostly Merlot. There's a change that's going over in the vineyard that we source that Merlot from. And so we've started to pull some other grapes in while that change is happening. But the William Chris wines that you'll find that are Merlot will say Merlot, Merlot Del Valle Vineyard, Merlot Uplift Vineyard. Hey, that Merlot from Uplift Vineyard, the 2020 vintage, it's a William Chris wine. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing. I love that wine, but we made only a little bit of it. So go on our shop page and see what Merlots we have. And then next week, I'll share a list of the Merlots that we have available to see if any of y'all would like to pick some up. I can help you out with that. But for now, let's go on to the second reason why Texas wine is seeming to be incredibly special. And that is because we have seen unexpected successes in unexpected places. And I'll explain what that means, because now we know that much of Texas is suited to growing grapes, but that's not always how it has been. And so I'm going to share some information from the Texas Wine Ambassador certification course that we offer. Let me know in the comments if you've been through that course, by the way. Mark and Mary, you are first on my list, who have been through that Texas Wine Ambassador course. And this is something we talk about when we talk about the different regions of Texas and the history of how Texas came to be what it is. The success of Texas wine has happened now that we've planted grapes in more places. So the first grapes that came into Texas, they came in from the south, from Mexico, actually from South America. They came through Mexico into Texas, and they landed in the most southern parts of the state and then over near El Paso as well. And that's where those first grapes were planted. Now, if you think about those areas, in the most southerly parts of the state, you have really warm, hot climates. And there's a little bit of desert and there's a little bit of humidity. It's really difficult to grow grapes in such warm, humid places and such hot, dry places without sufficient access to water, the ability to irrigate. And that's just something that we didn't have set up when the grapes first came into there in the late 1600s. Now, around El Paso, we're in the middle of the Chihuahua Desert. There's under 10 inches of rainfall on average year round there. And so it's not quite enough water to allow grapes to have success. And so there was a lot of trial and error in planting grapes that weren't native to Texas and trying to make them to succeed in conditions that just were not set up for them to be quickly successful. It took a really, really long time for us to plant grapes elsewhere, especially in places like the Texas High Plains. So the areas that they expected to be really successful for growing grapes in the middle of the desert and in the south of Texas are now not really widely used for growing grapes. It was when we figured out that we should be looking at different places in Texas to grow grapes that we figured out that we could have success with what we'd been trying to do, just in different places. So there are three places that I want to talk about. One of those is the Texas High Plains. One of them is the Texas Hill Country. And one of them is over near El Paso, but not quite. So why didn't we just start planting grapes in the Texas High Plains? It's responsible for over half of the grapes produced in the state. It's been responsible for up to 85% of the grapes grown in the state. It seems like we should have figured that out earlier. But the formation that the Texas High Plains is a part of is known as the Great American Desert. You'll notice that on the menu that you got with this virtual tasting pack, the Great American Desert is what we're going to talk about in episode 3 of this. So we'll dig deeper into that. But what I want to leave y'all with today is that the Great American Desert was deemed not suitable for growing grapes because there was low access to water and there were very little nutrients in the soil that were considered necessary for growing grapes. Other agriculture, yes, things like cotton, things like peanut, things like squash have been present in the Texas High Plains for a very long time, but it wasn't considered suitable for growing grapes for many reasons. And now we found that, of course, not to be true as long as the right grape varieties are planted there. And I mean drought-tolerant grape varieties that like to thrive in sandy soils, that don't mind having nutrient-poor conditions because they become more intense and complex because of them. So planting grapes in the Texas High Plains in the late 1900s, that's when we found that maybe if we'd started doing this earlier, we would have had more successes. It was unexpected, certainly, but part of the reason for the Texas High Plains success is the low amount of disease pressure. So in the southern US, there is a lot of disease pressure due to the humidity that comes off of the coast and due to the really warm conditions that disease pressure loves to thrive in. Humidity and heat typically means mold and mildew can thrive. Things like Pierce's disease, which is really present in the southern US, from California all the way to Florida and including Texas. These are big concerns that can prevent viticulture from being possible. But the Texas High Plains, particularly due to the wind that blows through it, it is exceptionally disease free. Of course, there's a little bit of disease pressure everywhere, but the Texas High Plains is known for being a fairly disease free place. Very low disease pressure because the wind funnels through and blows away a lot of that disease pressure. It keeps the humidity from clinging to the grapes and the grapevines. And so the grapes can thrive without as much threat as the Texas Hill Country. Now, the Texas Hill Country is a different story. The Texas Hill Country is in a humid subtropical climate. It is highly humid and it is very warm. It's everything that mold and mildew loves to thrive in. It's everything that little bugs that carry diseases like to thrive in. Think of how many mosquitoes you're hitting off of your face in Houston. Think of little bugs like sharpshooters that carry Pierce's disease, loving those conditions and thriving in places like the Texas Hill Country. Planting in the Texas Hill Country is absolutely possible, but there's a lot of varied terrain in the Texas Hill Country that just takes experience to navigate. The side of the hill that you plant a vineyard on is going to matter because there are several winds that are impacting the Texas Hill Country. So let's talk about wind again. There are three major winds that blow through the Texas Hill Country that can make viticulture possible in the Texas Hill Country, which previously was too humid and too warm to have sustainable vineyards planted. And so it really was left untouched until the late 1900s as well. And now there's even more excitement around planting in the Texas Hill Country because we've figured out a lot of the secrets of planting successfully here. And it's paying attention to where you are and what your terrain is like. So the hills in the Texas Hill Country are considered low mountains. They don't seem like low mountains, but they are considered low mountains, and they provide great drainage in a lot of places, meaning that the high amount of rainfall will drain through the soil really quickly and keep the roots from holding on to too much water and getting a little bit waterlogged. The winds that pass through the Texas Hill Country will intersect at different places and they'll end up pooling in the valleys and providing cool air at night. But it really depends which access to which wind you have. So off of the Gulf Coast is coming a warm, humid wind. Being in the way of that warm, humid wind can be a bad thing unless it's intersecting with a wind that's coming off of the Chihuahua Desert that's drier and warm. But not quite as warm as the one coming off of the Gulf Coast. And then from Mexico, you have another wind coming upward that is warm and dry as well. As these winds intersect, they cause the Texas Hill Country to have a big shift from place to place and from vineyard to vineyard, depending on where you decide to plant. And paying attention to all of these things is really, really crucial for the success in the Texas Hill Country. And it's causing a lot more people to come out, buy land, and try their hand at viticulture. As long as they're paying attention to the soil types that they're planting in, the drainage there, and what type of wind they have access to, and how it blows away and mitigates humidity, is really, really important. And we're finding that success. It is one of the reasons why Granite Hill Vineyard and this Merlot has been so successful. So Granite Hill Vineyard is on the highest elevation point of the Texas Hill Country. It has great drainage and really rocky, gravelly soil that water just sinks through. So the roots don't end up being waterlogged. They're pretty dry conditions here, considering all the rainfall that they do get. And then it is drier, cooler, and breezier than the surrounding area. This area is perfect for growing grapes in the middle of a humid subtropical climate. You have a lot of breeze, you have a lot of cool air due to the elevation, and you have great drainage. All things that make this unexpected area unexpectedly great. Finally, I want to talk about one more area, and I'm going to pull out my map here again. So over here, this is Del Valley Vineyard right here. This is really close to El Paso, which is right here. Now, in El Paso, there wasn't a lot of success in planting grapes because El Paso is in the middle of a desert. Hot and dry can be okay for planting grapes, but there is just a lot of risk in doing that, especially when you don't have access to water to irrigate. Now, right here where Del Valley is, there is water in the ground. There are 3 underground rivers that provide irrigation and allow for grapes to have the success that they weren't able to have in the area directly around El Paso. Some grapes are thriving in both areas, but at Del Valley Vineyard, what we've seen is just an oasis. And we're starting to get more fruit than ever from Del Valley Vineyard because of the incredible success that they've had. There's someone who tends the vineyard out there. His name is Philippe. He comes from Corsica. He's very, very particular about the way he grows his grapes and the way the wines taste. We've poured our wines from him, from the grapes that he grows, and they're surprising to even him. It was incredible to see the look on his face when we poured the Cabernet Franc from Del Valley Vineyard from the year 2020, to see his face light up. Maybe light up is a generous term because Philippe is kind of like gruff. Light up for him was like, that's good. But that was something. The criticism that he has for the work that he does is something that's reflected in the growers across the state. It's part of the reason why we're seeing these unexpected successes. It's the perseverance, it's the desire to do things right, whether you think there will be reward in it or not. There is a right way to do things. There is a responsible way to do things. And what it's returned to us is a surprise in what we're able to grow and make. And by we, I mean them, and I'm just here privileged enough to be able to talk about it to you guys. That unexpected success is something that is reaching more people than ever in Texas and outside of Texas. And these are just 3 places that we're seeing that success that we really didn't expect to before. And it's part of the reason why Texas wine is taking off and why William Chris is doing that experimentation with so many parts of the state that we just weren't able to figure out before. And now we are. All right, I'm hopping in the comments to see your questions. We got just a couple minutes left, and I have the perfect way to round us out. Oh, great questions. Hi, Tracy. Is Ed there with you? It's nice to see y'all. Tracy is a Texas Wine Ambassador. So just for those of y'all who might not know, the Texas Wine Ambassador Certification course is something that we've been giving to our team for quite a while. There have been so many requests for Texas wine education, especially for application of how to talk about Texas wine to a consumer, and with so many misconceptions about wine and Texas wine out there. This course aims at breaking down those misconceptions in a way that is welcoming and impactful, and that really gets to the root of why Texas wine is special. It's a day-long course that we've now opened up beyond our staff and team members, and we're offering it to the industry and to guests as well. We have one happening on October 22nd, if anyone can make it, and then we have a couple more the rest of the year. In addition to our WSET classes, which don't focus on Texas wine, but they focus on international wine, and they complement each other really, really well. So it's one day long. We have a barrel in the room that we're giving that class because it's Texas Wine Month. Anyone who takes classes with us this month is getting the 2023 Tannat from High Estate directly from the barrel. Once Texas Wine Month is over, we are no longer doing that. So if you're going to get a certification with us, either WSET 1 or the Texas Wine Ambassador course, this month is the month to do it, because you get to taste directly from the barrel this incredible wine that there's just going to be such a small amount of. I feel lucky enough to even be able to taste that wine the couple of times that I'm going to be able to. If you'd like to sign up for a course with us, go to williamchriswines.com and go to the bottom of the page where you'll see the William Chris Wine School. I'm going to share it on the screen for everyone, just in case someone is like, this is the time, I'm going to do this now. Wine education. This is the website to go to if you'd like to check out any of our certification courses. And then we have a short form class, our first short form class. So we've started our wine school as opening up to just certification courses, but now we're including some shorter form courses that don't take an entire day. You don't have to test out at the end of it. You just get to learn about something cool with me and then be on your way after an hour or two. The first class that we're offering is called The Art of Cellaring Wine. So we're drinking wines like this and talking about how you can taste this wine and know just by tasting it whether it has the potential to age or not, or whether it is ready to drink now or whether it is past its prime. That is on October 27th at 4 p.m. It's a Friday. So if you can get off work early, come join me for that class. We have 20 or so tickets left. You can join Tracy and me for that because I know she's going to be there and learn about the art of cellaring wine with Texas wine. Of course, we're going to be tasting Texas wine. All right, I had one more question pop up here. Actually, I had a couple. Jennifer asked, where do I think the next Texas AVA will be? I know that there are two perfected petitions right now, and there's a petition within the Texas Hill Country AVA. I'm going to share my map again because that shows you exactly what I'm talking about. So within the Texas Hill Country AVA, if you look, sorry, Jennifer, I got to remove your comment so you can see. So if you look at the bottom of the screen here, now it's hiding it. There is a Texas Hill Country AVA map right here. At the top of the Texas Hill Country AVA right here is the Llano Uplift. The Llano Uplift has a perfected petition, which means that it's been submitted to become an AVA, and the Tax and Trade Bureau, who approves the AVAs, they have taken a look at the petition and approved it. So it's on to the next step. I think that has the potential to become the next AVA of Texas. There is one more perfected petition. It is also within the Texas Hill Country, and it's also within the Llano Uplift. It's called the Hickory Sands District AVA, and it's on the westmost side of the Llano Uplift. So either one of those, I think, has the potential to become the next. They might even be approved at the next time. But I will say, I think that a couple of more that are on deck are Terry County in the Texas Hill Country right here. Look at our list of vineyards that we source from here. Terry County is where all of those are coming from. And so I think that has the potential to have its own definition within the Texas High Plains to become an AVA. And I think this area here where Del Valley is, right there, I think that area as well has the potential and the makings of an AVA. But honestly, there's so many great grapes across the state right here. I think that we have the potential for hundreds more AVAs in Texas. Hundreds. Just to give context, and this is something I share in the Texas Wine Ambassador course, there are 250 plus AVAs in the US. 150 plus of those are in California, and California fits inside of Texas over 1.5 times. So we have 8 AVAs. Think of how many more we have work to do on. I think that we'll see a lot of excitement around Texas that's going to mean more AVAs for us, and maybe a lot all at once, depending on how fast we can do our work and get that done, because it is quite a long, lengthy process. Alrighty, guys, the last thing that I want to touch on before we hop off is how the style of Texas wine has been completely unprecedented. This style of food-friendly wine that we are creating means that the wines can pair with multiple types of cuisine. Because the wines in Texas show the restraint that they do and are growing through some really old world soil types that have complexity and are nutrient poor, the grapes struggle to grow, period. The vines struggle through the nutrient poor soils with the low rain conditions. In areas with great drainage, there's even less water access. That struggle that these grapes and vines go through, it of course creates amazing wines. My favorite way to speak about this is when When a grapevine struggles to survive, it puts out its best flavors, because what a grapevine wants is to be able to spread its seed. It wants to be able to survive for the next year. It wants to have its berries eaten by birds and other animals so that its seed can spread and more baby vines can be produced. What grapevines don't know is that we're going to make wine out of them. So when they are struggling to survive, the grapes put out their very best flavors in order to attract animals to spread the length of their life and to spread their legacy around. When we harness that for wine, we get the reward. And so when people come into Texas and they say it's too hot, it's too dry here, it's not possible, there's low nutrients in the soil is really shallow, the Texas Hill Country has some really crappy soil, all of that, it all means that the grapes, yes, they're going to struggle. It's going to be hard to do the work here, but the reward is what we capture and get to bottle. So when we make it happen and when we figure it out, we get such exceptional reward for the work that we have to go through. Again, I'm not doing this work, I'm just talking about it. But the growers and producers in Texas are highly adaptable, and they're working with some of the best grapes that I can imagine because of that struggle. So if it's possible to grow grapes in the middle of the Chihuahua Desert, if you can make it happen, you're going to get such a reward for that. It's just the journey to finding out how it's going to be possible. And with that comes a style of wine that is restrained but intense at the same time. It's bold elegance. It's what I say about Texas wine. It is dichotomous. It has power and it has prettiness. And that makes these wines so food friendly. And we're very lucky for that because Texas has some incredible food and it's a real range of food styles. So we have wines that are primed to react to that. I wanted to share that with y'all and get y'all thinking about how to talk about Texas wines in future. It is unexpectedly bold elegance, restrained prettiness with power. So cheers to Texas wine. Y'all are hanging out next Tuesday at 6 p.m. with Chris and Catherine, and y'all are drinking this wine right here. This is the 2020 Merlot from Annie's Block. So grab something similar to this or grab the pack that's on the website now and join us then. I'm going to look at your comments that you post after this so I can answer any more questions that y'all had after I hopped off. I missed you guys. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. I will talk to you later. Bye, guys.